Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation and joining this webinar. My name is Juan Montoya. I'm one of the co-founders of Human2Human.ai, and I'll be your host today. Our webinar is called Hands-On with Human2Human.ai, Facilitating Group Learning with AI. So let's get started. Let's go over some quick housekeeping. We'll be going for about 45 minutes and up to maximum 55 minutes, depending on the number of questions we get for the Q&A session at the end. This is a hands-on experience, so be ready to participate and interact with fellow attendees. You can also engage in the traditional way by sharing your questions and comments in the chat at any time. We'll be attending to those in the last part of the session. Finally, be aware that we're recording the session and we'll be sharing the video link. However, when we do the most interactive part, you will engage with other participants directly in the Human2Human tool. Most of those interactions will not make it to the recording, so that you know. Only a few lucky ones that will be interactive with me will have their interactions shown in the recording. So the rest of you don't have to worry about that. Here's a quick overview of our agenda. We'll cover a general information about the Human2Human.ai tool first. Then we'll do a live segment where I'm going to be acting as an educator or learning designer, and I will create step-by-step and configure a group learning activity. Next, we will do the hands-on part. Those of you who want to will be able to join the activity directly in your device and experience it for about 10 minutes. You can use mobile phones or computers, laptops, whatever works for you. And then we'll come back to this same call and we'll explore the individual assessment that the platform provides and the educator's insights that are available. And finally, we'll have our Q&A session to attend to all questions and comments collected throughout the chat. Okay. So let's dive right in. This initiative and this product is all about giving educators one more tool, hopefully a great tool, to make online learning better, more engaging, more effective, more impactful. Our mission is to contribute towards high-quality education at scale. So let's start from the learning science. Learning science tells us that learning is inherently social and collaborative, that effective collaboration goes beyond content delivery and it thrives on interaction, collaboration, and meaningful engagement. The theory of social constructivism emphasizes that learners build knowledge through social dialogue and guided scaffolding, where peers and mentors play a critical role for understanding. We also draw from a framework called COI, Community of Inquiry, which highlights 3 dimensions for successful online learning: a cognitive presence, which involves critical reflection, a social presence, which fosters authentic human connection, and a teaching presence, which provides structure, guidance, and facilitation. Connectivism adds another layer by recognizing that knowledge is distributed across networks, both human and digital, and that learning occurs when individuals actively engage with these networks to connect, share, and build understanding. This theory are particularly relevant in the age of digital learning, where collaboration and access to diverse perspectives can be as important as the content itself. And finally, research from the MOOC and post-COVID eras from past years further reinforce the importance of active learning strategies. Studies done with MOOCs show that passive learning, just watching videos or reading without any interaction, lead to lower retention and engagement. And on the other hand, structured peer interactions, real-time feedback, and opportunities to teach or explain concepts to others deepen comprehension and promote long-term retention. So what happens if you ignore these indications? Online learning becomes only passive content delivery, and what happens is that learners just take the passenger seat. They end up reporting feelings of isolation, they have low accountability, low engagement, and ultimately they may finish a course and not really learn much, or just simply drop out from it. So you typically want to add interactivity and social connection to your online learning experiences. The challenge is these things are really hard. Building interactive experiences into an online course is difficult, it's expensive. You need to put great educators next to a team of instructional designers and even software developers to do it right. And they probably won't get it right the first time. It requires experimentation and iterations to improve it over time. So it becomes expensive. Every LMS out there will give you discussion forums and other tools in order to try and bring social elements into a course. But in practice, these online forums are often empty. They rarely have engaging and thought-provoking exchanges. And if you manage to have your learners engaged in an online forum, those conversations require moderation. They require facilitation and structure to be really effective. And that is, of course, also logistically challenging and expensive to provide. In order to work, these experiences need to be integrated into your online course with minimal friction, and they need to be counted for a grade. This is important because otherwise learners will just skip it, as they are often seeking the path of least resistance. So if you decide to give a grade, you realize that grading this kind of open-ended interaction is hard. Consistently and at a scale makes it really hard. So a couple of years ago, we were already supporting hundreds of organizations that delivered online courses with an LMS, with a different service. Like we were hosting a large LMS. And with the rise of large language models and artificial intelligence, we started asking the question, how could we apply the power of and the advantages of AI to these challenges while also controlling for the disadvantages and limitations that the LLMs also have? And fast forward a few months, this is what we came up with. Human2Human.ai. It's a tool to build and deliver structured group learning experiences that are facilitated by AI, with assessments and personalized feedback to be delivered at a scale inside any LMS. As you can imagine, it's a general purpose tool, so you can enable a wide range of learning experiences, even one-on-one interactions between the student and the AI. But of course, the main focus is on group learning experiences. This is a key differentiator. So you can imagine use cases like guided group reflections, problem-solving sessions, debates, or any kind of role-playing exercise, brainstorming, analysis of case studies in groups, inquiry-based sessions, and many, many others. Anything that is conversational in form and that has a structure can be modeled within the tool. So let's dive into the interactive part. We're going to be featuring the main components of the solution in a logical order. First, we're going to create an activity with the activity designer, and I'll explain how you make the activity available to learners once you have it. Then we will split into groups, as I mentioned at the beginning, and leave the participant experience. Each of you will leave the experience as a participant. And finally, we'll come back to this call and look together at the assessment, the analytic parts, and the educator insights that you get out of the tool. Right, so let me switch and share my screen. We're going to be looking directly at the tool. So I'm quickly going to log in to this web interface as an educator, and I will land directly in the My Activities page. So this is a place where I create my activity. Let's just start simple. I can just hit on this button and create my activity. And I will have three different options here. I can create it from scratch, which basically gives me a full set of 5 steps where I can make all the configurations step by step and from a blank slate, basically. But I can also select from a template. So I have here a number of different templates I can use, and this will populate the same form, but it will populate it already with some activity design that I can use and I can modify in any way I want. Or what we're going to do today, which is even more interesting, is we're going to use AI to help us come with a draft of an activity based on what we want to do, like a personalized template, if you will. So in this case, we only need to basically include here the description of what it is that we want, and the AI will generate it for us. So I prepared a description of the kind of activity I want. I'm just going to copy and paste it here, but I'm going to read it out loud so that we all understand what it is that we're building. So my description reads like this. I want a 10-minute activity for participants of the hands-on webinar about Human2Human.ai. The idea is that participants will meet in groups of 2 to 3 for a lightning ideation exercise that lets them experience the kind of structured dialogue Human2Human.ai is designed to support. The activity should have 3 segments. One short for participants to introduce themselves and break the ice a little bit. One for some rapid co-creation. Teammates brainstorm concrete ways Human2Human could bring value to online learning. And one for the facilitator to recap ideas and close the activity. The rubric for each participant should have 2 criteria: idea quality and innovativeness, and individual collaboration, with very detailed descriptions and examples for each performance level. So that's it. It's a general description, but it has some key elements. It speaks about the kind of activity I want, the methodology that I want to use, the learning objective that I have. It speaks about the structure that I want for the activity or that I envision for my activity. And it gives the AI some idea about what the rubric should be or what kind of assessment I want to perform. So let's just use that for now. Of course, you can create a much more specific one. You can go in much more detail about what the kind of thing that you want. But just for demonstrating purposes during this webinar, we're using this simple description. And we're giving a few moments for the AI to generate the template. Let's see how it goes. Right, so we have it. As I'm going to be explaining the 5 steps of the construction of the activity design process, and because we have already like a populated form, we're just going to be reviewing some of it, not in so much detail because probably it would take longer than the maybe 10 minutes we want to spend in this section, but hopefully you will get the idea well enough so that you can understand it and then play around on your own. So the first section is overview. It just gives you the definition of my activity. It gave it a name. It's called Lightning the Ideation, Human2Human.ai, value in online learning. It has like a subtitle or like a tagline. It has a description of the learning objectives. So in this case, this is important. Participants will be able to collaborate, generate and articulate at least one innovative, concrete idea for how Human2Human could enhance online learning while demonstrating effective interpersonal communication and teamwork skills within a structured, time-limited dialogue. That is the learning objective or the description of what the activity is about. I can select a banner image here. Let's change another one to make it more more of a group thing. Right, something like this would work. I can set the language of the activity and I can decide the number of participants. This is a range. It could be a single number. I can like have an activity that's always for 2, or I can have a range, 2 to 3, 2 to 4, even 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you need here. Let's stay with what I suggested initially, from 2 to 3 participants. I can provide the participant's profile. So in this case, the AI inferred something about the profile. This can be okay. Educators attending the webinar with varying levels of experience and online learning and technology. They are open to collaborate activities and interested in practical applications. Yeah, this is generally okay. But I could go in more detail and explain about the demographics that I'm attending so that the AI can adapt to that. And the last thing in this section is I can provide instructions for the participants. So this is not really for the AI or for the facilitator, just for participants to read before they join the activity so that they understand what to expect and what to do. So I just can prepare this. Let's not worry about this today. The next section is the structure. So these are, as I mentioned, structured activities and they are time constrained. So first of all, you set up the time. This is a 10-minute activity in this case. And you split those 10 minutes into phases because I asked it to. It created a 3-phase activity for me. So it's phase 1, it's called warm up and introductions, and it allocated 6 minutes to that from the very start up until minute 6. This is probably too much. I want to fix it. I want to just reduce this warm up and introductions just maybe 3 minutes tops. And it gives a description. So what's going to happen in this section? Introduce yourselves, please share your name, your role, background, one thing you're hoping to learn or achieve today. Something like that, it's okay. Then the next phase starts in minute 3, and it goes, again, I don't like this decision, it goes all the way to the end. I need to like make it go for like 5 minutes or something. I can control here. And the last phase, as you can imagine, will take the last 2 minutes. I can add more phases if I have time available, Or if I completed my 10 minutes in this case, I would need to add more minutes if I want to add more phases or make it longer. But the idea is that this is the structure, what we call the structure, multiple phases or segments with the name, allocation of time, and description of what needs to happen, specifically in those ones. Right, so that's it for structure. Let's move on with the next step, which is about the AI facilitator. So there is a number of things I can do with the AI facilitator. First of all, I can give it some personality traits. I can give it a name, whatever name I want. I can give it some behavior settings. So for example, in this case, I want it to be like fast paced. It's only 10 minutes, so I want it to be really like focus on making the activity move fast, not so chatty. So I'm going to put this into short. I don't want it to like provide long responses every time. And I can set the temperature of the model, the creativity. Let's set it somewhere in the middle. I can give it communication style, like instructions, directives. So how do I want it to communicate? And I can be very specific here if I want. Let's just stay with whatever the AI produced this time. But you can imagine that you can go very detailed in this if you want. And then you can provide it, and this is going to be important, a set of do's and don'ts. What kind of things you want it to do and what kind of things you don't want it to do, you want it to avoid. So this produced like a bulleted list of different things. So you can imagine things like encourage balanced participation, ensure that all voices are heard, prompt deeper thinking by asking clarifying and follow-up questions, summarize and highlight key ideas during the recap phase. So these are do's and don'ts that are applied throughout the whole activity. So for example, I'm going to remove this one. I don't think this needs to be here. Provide constructive personalized feedback based on the rubric. Probably this doesn't need to come here as well. So I can tweak it and adjust it the way I need it, because I should have the expertise of knowing how this should work very well with the kind of students and the kind of activity that I want. But then I also have do's and don'ts by phase. So in each phase, because I have my phase with this name and this description, the AI produced for me also specific instructions for this phase. So what it needs to do during the introductions, in this case, this one, or what it doesn't need to do during the introductions, and again for the second phase, and the same for the third phase. So this is very useful because I can really fine-tune the behavior of the facilitator. I can really instruct it how I want it to conduct the session for me. Right, so let's just jump to the next session. This next session is assessment. So basically, we need to provide a rubric that describes a number of criteria and a number of performance levels for the performance of each of the participants to be assessed against. So because I suggested it, it created these two criteria: idea quality, innovativeness, and individual collaboration. And for each criteria, there's a number of levels. By default, it's 4, but you can have any number. In this case, each level is associated to a number of points and then a description. You can edit this if you want over here. So you can just edit as you need. This is simple. It's similar to any other rubric in different LMSs, but you can have a lot of control here. And you can also like select a color if you want to like tag your specific level, so that it's easy to see who got what level of performance in each of the criteria. Right. So probably in the real exercise, you will spend a lot more time here polishing your rubric and making sure that it works for your needs. But for now, let's just jump to the last step of our process, which is the schedule of the activity, the availability of the activity. So this particular activity, it is 10:23 right now. I'm going to say that this is going to be available today at, in this case, let's say 10:30, in about 3 or 5 minutes, 10:28, I don't know, 5 minutes from now. And I can give it a finish time if I want. Let's say it's going to be available until 12, I don't know, an hour. Of course, we're not going to be here, but just to demonstrate, I can select, it detects my time zone, but I can select a time zone if I want to. And I can add multiple openings. So every opening, it's like a window of opportunity for the activity to happen. And learners will know about it, and learners will be able to decide which of these schedules they want to attend to. The idea here is to narrow down the possibilities and make it simple for the logistics part of making sure that people join at the same time. In this case, it's easy because we're all here in the same call synchronously, but you get the idea that in an online course, typically that there's a lot of asynchronous elements to it. You need to provide flexible options for people to be able to join as you need to. So there's fixed schedules, and you can also have, sorry, I removed it. All right. So fixed schedules, and you can also, and you have as many as you need, and you can also have a recurring schedule. So you may want to have this activity happening every Monday and Wednesday, every Monday and Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. or something, whatever you want, right? So you can just decide the frequency for repetition and it will create the schedules for you. Or finally, you can have like continuous schedule. It's open 24/7. Every time you want it, it's there. This doesn't work so well for group sessions because logistics of getting people at the same time may be challenging, but it works very well for individual sessions, for solo sessions, because it's just available all the time for learners. So let's stay with this couple of options. I'm going to have one today and one on Saturday for demonstrating purposes. And that is all I have to do. That's my fifth step. I can just now launch my activity. So here it is. This is the activity I just created. The process is done. The last thing I need to do is deliver it to my learners, deploy it, or communicate it to my learners so that they know how to access. So we have this option here for sharing my activity, and we have three different options. The ideal one is to integrate it into your LMS. That makes this seamless. The learners don't have to worry about authentication or anything. It's just a single sign-on. It integrates with your LMS. And the additional advantage here is that the grade will come back to your gradebook. It works very well with Moodle, with Canvas, with any established LMS, because they all support the same protocol, LTI, Learning Tools Interoperability. So this option will allow you to like get here the different parameters that you need to feed into your LMS to make the activity be integrated, embedded there. Different LMSs will have different instructions, but you will always need these parameters. So the system provides it here. But there are other options as well. If you don't want to integrate with your LMS, you can have just a link that is easy to share, and people will just join the link. I will just join by visiting this link, or you can embed this into a website. We provide you here with a snippet that you can use to embed. For the purpose of this session, we're going to be using the link to make it easy. So we're going to be sharing this link in a moment. Just wait a little bit. But before we share it, I want to show you what this link looks like. So what the students get. Whenever they visit this link, they get this, which is the image that we set, and then the information, the title of the activity, the learning objective, all the information. It says that minimum 2 participants, maximum 3. It says that it's for 10 minutes, so they can plan their schedules. They can see the rubric, so they can be prepared. They know what they're going to be graded based on or assessed based on. And they can see the instructions for the participants that we mentioned during the creation process. So if they need to read something beforehand, or you need to prepare some ideas before the session, they can do that. And then they have the actual options to log in, to access. So in this case, because it's a group activity, it says it's available right now because the time frame that we set, the schedules that we set are already there. I can join in at any time, and I'm the first person here to arrive. We need one more to actually start the activity. So the interface displays that, says that I'm there, I'm ready to start as soon as another participant joins. You will experience this in a moment. And if I cannot do it today for some reason, I can just leave the waiting room and I can come back tomorrow. There's a few options here that we created as well. So we could have notifications, or we can have reservations for this option so that I get notified and I come back at the right time. Right, excellent. So I think we're ready. Let's go back to the slides for just a sec. And let's get to the most interesting part, basically. We're going to actually do the experience as participants. So here are some simple instructions you need to pay attention to. If anyone in the rooms, let me clarify this. If anyone in the room prefers not to do the hands-on activity, you can ignore these instructions completely, no problem. Just to stay in the call, and I will continue sharing my screen and narrating what's happening. That's okay. But hopefully most of you will want to do it, so you will be following these instructions. Here they are. First of all, we will provide you with a link that you can access. You can click through that link, open it in a browser window or in your phone, and it will land in that page I showed you. Second, as part of this process, you will need to log in. So if you have an account because you've experimented already with the tool, you just log in with that account. Or if this is the first time you explore the tool, you need to create an account. Hopefully, it will be a painless process really quickly. Just provide a couple of email and name, and you're there. Password. Number three, once you log in, or you create an account and then log in, you will land automatically in that activity page that I showed you. So you can see all the information, you can see the structures, the instructions as you need, and make sure you join the activity with the green button. Whenever you're ready, click on the green button that says join now, and the activity will happen. Just go with the flow. You won't need that much instructions. It's quite intuitive. You can type your comments in the chat as similar to what a group chat would be like, or you can record your audio. Just record your voice with a button that is there and send it over, and you don't have to type that much. That's very interesting. And the group will be there. The facilitator will be there for you. If you have any questions, if you're confused, just ask, and it's just like a group conversation. It should be simple. It will last approximately 10 minutes. And after the activity, number 4, after the activity is finished, please, this is important. Resist the temptation to keep exploring on your own. Just come back to this call and we'll continue exploring it together for the last section of the webinar in about 10 minutes. You will have plenty of time to explore on your own later if you want to. Right, so without further ado, please hit the link that was just shared in the chat, and you can silence this call. If you want to avoid the extra noise of me narrating things, you can just silence the call and come back here and unsilence it. Turn the volume up again in about 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is logging out as an educator, because I'm going to demonstrate the learner experience. I'm going to log back in to that specific link that was provided, which prompts me to log in because I have an account already. You will just log in. If I need to create an account, I will click on create an account and I will be super easy. But I have an account already for learner purposes. So I will use those credentials to log in. And as I mentioned, I will land in this informative page, the page that will give us all the information about the activity, right? So I mentioned before, I can see the rubric, I can read here, I can see the different options for scheduling in a later time if I want. But the idea, of course, is doing it now. So I can see here that as soon as I click on join, it matches me automatically with somebody or a group of people. So it should take a couple of seconds to match me, and I will land in my experience. I will be narrating some of the things that are happening here. So just for your own information, or for those that are not doing the activity actually. So let me just quickly go and do that. I'm waiting for the room to start. Just give it a second. Just making sure that I have the right access. All right. I don't know what happened, but it took a minute or so, but I'm here. Right, excellent. So let me show what's happening here. I have the live activity. I have the countdown here. So it's 10 minutes. It started about 10 seconds ago. I have a panel on the right, which tells me some general information about the activity. And I have the option of leave the chat if I want. And I have a list of the participants here. I see who is with me. And I then have the bigger part of the screen for the chat. So the AI facilitator has already greeted me here. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started. Quick round of introduction. So I'm just going to do it by text. Hi, everyone. I am Juan Montoya. And Juan Montoya, happy to be here today. I work in EdTech and online learning for the past decade, and now I want to innovate with AI to bring engagement to online learning. Something like that. I just didn't think too much about it. So I can see that Lisbeth is already saying hi from Idaho State University. That's great. I'm probably going to use audio now because I'm not good at typing, but it's basically the same thing. Just record my voice and that makes it easier. I just need to keep on reading on the introductions. So what's happening, for example, is that the facilitator is trying to make sure that everyone engages and everyone introduces themselves. So it's in this moment is asking Mary Ellen to go next if she wants. Increase participation in your courses. Yeah, right. I agree. Participation is always hard. As I mentioned in the explanation, learners just take the back seat and they just stay there. We'll see how this goes. Right. So Marilyn just said hi. Remember that we had like 3 minutes for introductions or so. So I can come back to the timer here and see how it's doing. Basically, it's okay. We've all introduced ourselves already, at least quickly, and there's still a little bit of time. So maybe the facilitator will try to um, get us to the next section already because it's not enough time for a full round of comments. But let's see what it says. Your background looks MIT, Valor's perspective, as per new possibilities. All right, perfect. Are we ready for the ideation? Okay, yeah, we're ready. So let's go. Ready. Let's brainstorm concrete ways human to human could bring value to online learning. Think creatively. What problems could it solve? How it might improve engagement, collaboration, or outcomes? At least one specific innovative idea. Right. I think out of the box, something that hasn't been said before for a moment. I'm feeling an online experience at your an online course. Yeah, that's right. Remember, we gave it in the instructions the instruction that it needed to balance participation, make sure that everybody engaged in a balanced way. So that's what it's doing here, trying to ask Lisbeth if what she thinks about what has been said before, so that everyone is participating. Person specific case study for just one participant. I have not tried the person specific case study idea. I see no. I'm going to just use audio because it's easier. I'm thinking that as one of the stages or one of the phases of the activity, you could provide the facilitator with instructions to generate, like on the fly, a situation and a scenario and something that needs to be analyzed based on some information that was collected during a previous phase. So information about the specific participants or things like that. Quality control would be challenging in that stage, though. But I think we could explore ways to make it happen properly. can always just to explain things for the audience here. I can always scroll up and see what everything that has been said. I can see here some like indicators of who is online and who's not. This is basically tracking the user's like mouse movement or tap switches and things like that, so that I know that they're actually there. This is interesting in the chat version, and I can see here indicators that somebody's recording or somebody's typing. So maybe sometimes I want to wait for them to weigh in before I throw in my comment. So those are just general ways that the interface has to like help you um, interact properly. Just as I mentioned, I'll probably mention this afterwards in the call, but this is a chat-based and audio-based interface. It's not the only possibility. We're already working in a video-based or like real-time audio, two-way audio-based option. That's much more challenging on the technical part, but it's much more natural as well to interact directly inside the call, just speaking to your peers. So that is coming up in the future. Let's wrap up probably here. It's the next couple of minutes. Remember, in our instructions, the facilitator is supposed to like use the last couple of minutes to wrap it up, like make sure every idea is collected and make a little summary. So I know, let's see how it plays out. I'm just going to read quickly what has been said lately. Um, oh, it's asking if there's any thoughts on ideas. Like 1 minute before the break, it started asking if we want to like wrap, like present like a last idea. Help learners connect to content, deepen engagement. Okay, recap and close. Where's the top idea or key takeaway from brainstorming? I would say my key takeaway is that it's very flexible. There's no one size fits all, but educators can really explore and experiment with this to make it work for their specific needs. I don't think I have particularly a big main idea, but I really liked the different things that were discussed today. So I think it was productive and it sparked some additional lines or food for thought or lines of thought. Right. So there's only a few seconds left. Sometimes when this happens, you may like not have enough time to like produce your last paragraph. Typically, the facilitator will do like a recap and then just like thank everybody and wrap it up for everybody. So we landed at the end of the activity. As you will see, the interface will show me that the session has ended, and it gives me this couple of options: review the conversation or view my assessment. I'm going to wait for maybe a minute or so for the rest of the group to finish, because maybe some of them started a little later than we did. So let's just give them some time, and then we'll pick up right there, like what happened um, with the assessment and what do I get just right after the activity finishes, the personalized feedback and all that. But let's wait a little bit to get everybody back into the room. Okay, so let's continue together. Hopefully, everybody made it back. We're going to be looking at the individual assessment and feedback. So I'm going to switch back again to the interface. Just right after the activity happened, this is what I landed with. I can go back to the conversation if I want. Maybe I didn't have time to read the last paragraph or something. I can always go back and reflect on everything that was said, or I can go to my room report, which is the assessment part. So this is what it looks like. I got a numeric assessment, 188 over 100 in this case, and I have the specific performance level selected for each of the criterion in the rubric. I have here the full description of the rubric in case I want to understand why it got me this particular level. I did well in this case, but not so well in this case. So maybe I want to understand here what I could have done to be scored, to score a little better. And it gives me personalized feedback for each of the criteria. So this is interesting because it's based on the things I said, the things and the things that the other one said in the call. So it references specific segments of the conversation, and it will really help me reflect on my performance and how to make it better for the next time. And finally, we have here the rating option. So I can give it a rate if I liked it, provide some comments. Very useful. I don't know, something like that, super quick. That's the learner experience. And I can come back here to see this screen at any time. I have my learning log, which can be used to see the different experiences that I have done in the past, and I can come back to all of them at any time. So let's go now to the educator's insights. So what happens back at the educator seat? Let's look at that. For that purpose, I'm going to log out here and I'm going to log back in with the educator's account. So just allow me 1 second. So I'm going to be looking at that. I have multiple statistics that they've collected here. For example, in this case, it says that I have 14 rooms going and I can see the analytics of my rooms. So it provides me with a very interesting aggregated information. So in this case, it's saying that I had 14 rooms, that it saved me 2.3 hours of facilitation. Like that was the mileage of the facilitator. It ran for the equivalent of 2.3 hours. It consumed this much number of AI tokens. And on average, I had like 34 engagements with 30 unique participants in this case. And I can see averages of the engagement, of the satisfaction, and the performance levels. I can also see it room per room. So as an educator, I can go here to each of those rooms and just see the transcript and verify anything that I want to, or just get the metrics. How many tokens this room consumed, or this one was rather small. How many learners engaged, what was the attendance of each of the rooms and the engagement of each of the rooms, average satisfaction of each of the rooms. So I have a lot of information here room by room, or I can go to participants and also analyze it in detail and see for each of the participants what happened. And even, of course, all the way to like seeing the individual assessment that was provided and the feedback that was provided for each participant. So that should help the educators be in control and get all the information they need to actually improve over time, change the activity, make a new activity for the next week or something like that, or feed this back into their building of the best online learning course they can build. Right. So let's go back then and let's go to our Q&A session. That's basically the final part. We've arrived at the final part. We have a few minutes for this. So let me just see if the team has already prepared the questions that have been received over the chat. I'll be reading them out loud and addressing them. So we have one here. Why have you capped the number of participants at 10? Did you find the discussion less effective beyond 10 participants? That's a very interesting question. Actually, we found it less effective after 6 participants. So in our test, like when you have 8, 7, 8, 9 participants, it's too much. It's too noisy, too many people talking at the same time. We did cap it at 10 just to give more room for people to experiment. Maybe there are other types of activities where it will be okay to do it with 10, but there's not really any like hard coded reason why not to like have even more than 10. It could be more than 10 if your particular needs, but we needed to choose a number, and 10 just was okay. But in our actual tests and experience, we're running pilots with multiple organizations. 3 to 5 is probably, or even 2 to 5 is probably the sweet spot where you can get engagement and you can get enough like not too much noise so that you can really follow the conversation and what's going on. I'm curious to know if when we switch to the or we add the voice model, like the real-time video model, maybe that will change. But for now, those has been our results. Right. Let me know if you have your any other questions. We have, I think, at least a couple of minutes more. What languages can it operate? There's the second question. What language can it operate? That's interesting. Of course, it can operate in any language that the LLM can handle. So that takes me to the question: what LLM model are you using behind it? We're currently using OpenAI, the reasoning models from OpenAI, but we could easily swap it, and this could be also a configuration to swap it to any other models. And the particular one we're using, OpenAI, it's very good at languages. It handles more than 60 languages, so you can use any of those. But the most interesting part is you can use combination of languages as well. You could, and we have done some tests around it, allow people to speak freely in any language that they want and have the facilitator perform some translation layer when needed. Or you could use it for language learning exercises, in which case you will have like a main language, and then using the communication style settings that I showed, you could give it instructions to like try to have the activity mostly in English, but be aware that some of the participants are not completely proficient in English, or they may use other languages to support their expression sometimes. And when that happens, you can always like make the translation for everybody or make sure that everybody understands. So combination of languages are a very interesting use case. Another question. Okay. Oh, no, sorry, it's a comment. If including reaction and voting on comments, you could get bigger groups to work better. Yes, we have thought about it, and that's certainly a good idea. It works really well in Zoom calls and in online calls. So we're thinking about that as a potential feature to add. And we have a question here. I think this could be the last one we have time for. Do you need all participants to use the same language in the room? Oh, okay, I mentioned a little bit about that. We do not need it. The facilitator doesn't need it. It can perfectly hold the conversation in multiple languages at the same time. But I would argue that participants would need it. Like, it would be weird for participants to be in a conversation where they don't really understand everything that is going on. They would feel like left out of the conversation. So you need to probably be careful with that. And as I was mentioning before, the facilitator can add as a layer of translation without necessarily be like a full translator. It could like highlight the most important ideas in some of the in some of the comments that come in a different language from the official language of the session. Right. We have this last one. If we can, I think this will be the last one. Can you transmit the grades to your LMS via LTI? Yeah, certainly. You can. I mean, when you configure it via LTI, you can have it as a graded activity, for example, in Moodle or OpenX, and the grade that I received, in my case, I think it was 80 something percent, will be taken back to my gradebook in Moodle or in OpenX or in any LMS. Or you can have it as not graded. And in that case, it's just a, I don't know, feedback that is useful for the learner as a formative feedback, but then you don't have the grade integrated. So it's totally up to you. But if you decide to do it, it works really well. Okay, so thank you very much. This has been very interesting. I want to leave you with one final slide. We've reached the end of our time, but please remember that you can experiment with this tool as an educator as well. The credentials that you created today to participate in the activity allow you to create your own activities and launch up to 3 activities totally free of charge. So please, those of you that are interested, go ahead and try it. We value all the feedback and all the questions that comes from those explorations. And for those organizations that are more committed to it and they really want to run a longer pilot with more tokens and with more engagement from our team to support them, of course, that option is also available. We have a beta program, exclusive access with a few institutions still open, still left. We have been running this for about 2 months already. But there's still some slots there. So if you're interested, please go to this URL here and sign up for your organization, and we'll be in touch to support you get the most out of this tool. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks again. Thanks again for joining today, and have a wonderful rest of the day.